So apparently, Jerry Lee Lewis married his 13-year-old cousin, and this like short kind of story is gonna be Myra Brown, the cousin that Jerry Lee Lewis supposedly married, sharing her side of the story. This came out literally like almost the 5th of August, so basically a month like prior to when I'm recording this now. So this is very, very recent, and I've seen this once off camera and I have so many questions. Guys, look, if you're new to the channel, you will know that, or you will not know that I'm a Gen Z Brit with a very curious mind, born in the 2000s, and I've been doing a lot of research into what was going on during these times, and for things of the music, the just general cultural, the kind of the politics at the time, the history. I've checked out a lot of these great rock and roll artists from anywhere, from people like Jerry Lee Lewis, Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, Elvis Presley, the Everly Brothers, the Righteous Brothers. Look, the list goes on. Little Richard. Guys, I've been doing a lot of deep diving, and I don't even know how I found myself here, but I'm here now, and we're gonna be dissecting this one in real time. Like the video if you guys want to see more of this kind of content. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new here, and turn on the notification so you don't miss none of these reactions. And if you want to know you can support this channel and go above and beyond, ways you can do that will be linked in the description to things like my PayPal and my Patreon, where you guys can get exclusive bonus content that I can't post on YouTube. I've recently did a full album reaction to Prince's Purple Rain album for the first time. Being a Gen Z Brit, I have not seen a lot of those songs, so if you guys are interested in that, getting that Gen Z perspective, then consider going into the description, clicking that Patreon, and it should lead you to my page where you can find out more. But guys, look, with that being said, let's get it right into this video, man. Let's go.
My family moved to Memphis, Tennessee when I was 5 years old. And I cried all the way there because I wanted to stay with my mama.
It's 1949. And Myra Brown is saying goodbye to her extended family in rural Louisiana.
Memphis, they say, is this sort of gateway into the Deep South. It really became this meeting point between white and black music, between country and early sort of rockabilly, hillbilly music, and African-American music, gospel and R&B. And the focal point for Memphis music at that time is Sam Phillips and Sun Records.
My daddy said, I'm gonna go to Louisiana and find my cousin Jerry and see if he'll come to Memphis and we'll put together a band. He said, I've heard how great he is on the piano, how talented he is.
Very talented.
Only 21 years old, Jerry Lee Lewis has already been married twice. The first time when he was 16.
In the South, people got married young, that they started having kids really young, and that then they had a lot of them. That's the story of the Lewis family.
Okay, so what he just said there is very, very important to bear in mind, because he just said now, obviously, it seems like in these southern states in America and like Louisiana, there's more of this culture of marrying young. Obviously, his second marriage at age 21, I think his first one was when he was 16. So just bear that in mind, right? Jerry Lee Lewis is someone who's in his brain, or from his world, getting married at a young age is normal, right? So let's continue.
Then they had a lot of them. That's the story of the Lewis family.
Jerry Lee now lives with his second wife, Jane, in Faraday, Louisiana. Myra has just turned 13 when her dad and Jerry fly to New York with their band to make their debut on live national television.
Mom and I were at home watching television, and you knew something great was coming out of this.
I've done a reaction to this very video on my channel as well. This is crazy.
Come on over, baby. A whole lot of shaking going on.
And I guess seeing him on Steve Allen's show, he rose in my mind, to a higher level.
It is safe to say that the overwhelming majority of the network TV viewing audience would never have seen anything like Jerry Lee Lewis before in their lives.
Oh, shake, baby. You can shake one time for me.
As Jerry's fame skyrockets, his marriage falls apart.
He knew what time school let out, and he would go up there. He'd say, hey, you want to go get some ice cream? And he always knew I wanted to go get ice cream.
Okay, so this is where things get really complicated now, because somehow he's gone from his divorce is kind of on rocky waters, and then he's somehow found his way at picking this girl up or meeting her after school and getting her ice cream. Myra just said he knew I liked ice cream, so it's like I feel like there's a little bit of a gap here in this storyline. I feel like you're supposedly married, right? But then you're frequently making visits to pick her up after school.
I want to go get some ice cream. And he always knew I wanted to go get ice cream. Jerry and I, we would go to a movie after dinner or something like that. I thought he was being nice to a kid. I thought it was that kind of thing. You know, like pat the kid on top of the head or something. I was idolizing Jerry and looking up to him and thinking he's this great big star. What I didn't know was that he was falling in love with me.
Okay. So, yeah, you guys heard it. They were going on dinner dates and movie nights. So it really seems like they have been developing a relationship. Now, I don't know what's going on because Jerry Lee Lewis is touring right now. I think he's touring in New York. He's getting notoriety. The dad is literally his bandmate, right? And nobody has at this point sussed anything out. Now, when I first checked this out, I was thinking maybe it's like a contextual thing that during this time, people were okay with, this kind of 13-year-old going out with this 21-year-old or whatever his age was, 21 plus at the time. But that doesn't seem to be the case. And considering how this has been something that's been going on for a while now, considering how they've been doing this, it's like, I don't know how there was no alarm bells from the dad at this point. Now, whether he was not paying attention or he knew and he didn't care. Look, it gets even more complicated now.
Jerry would kiss me. At first, I didn't know what to think about that. I mean, it was nice, but I was confused. I was like, I'm 13 years old.
Jerry never asked Myra to get married, per se.
This is crazy.
He got the marriage license by taking this older friend, I think she was in her 20s as well, to the courthouse and having her sign Myra's name to the license.
Okay, so I don't know what the state laws are at the time. I don't know if she's signing on behalf because I did a quick Google search. And it's saying how in the 1940s, many states allowed adolescent women to get married at ages 12 or 14. So Myra would have been 13 at this time. So I don't know if this is this woman that is signing on behalf of Myra is getting the parental consent, but she's not a parent of her. So I don't know how that's gone through. And on top of that, so it's I don't know if it varies between states. So it seems like they've allowed this marriage, or this at least to get a marriage license to potentially get married or to end up getting married. This whole part here, I don't know how that's even gone through, but it's gone through. So if any of you guys have any context behind that, let me know, because that sounds crazy.
Her sign.
I'm pretty sure that's illegal, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's illegal. No.
Myra's name to the license.
And Jerry came back home. He said, come outside, I'm gonna show you something. So he pulled this paper out, and I looked at it, and it said, marriage license. And I looked at it, and I said, you mean we're married? And he said, no. We're not married, we're gonna get married. And I said, what? And he caught me by my arm, and he turned me around, and he said, Myra, I love you. And I want to marry you. And I think I just melted, I think it just, and I told him, and I said, no, I love you too. The next morning, I got up and I pulled my marriage license out, and I left them laying out on the nightstand. And my mother's maid found them. And she handed my daddy the marriage license.
This is where things get.
And of course, he took one look at it, and my daddy went and got his gun.
Okay, so for the sake of YouTube, I am going to have to kind of skip past this part, but obviously the dad was just not having it, right? And he threatens to unalive, you guys could probably unalive Jerry Lee Lewis because of he finds out that he's, you know, trying to marry his daughter. So it seems like at this point the dad is only now realizing what's going on. Okay. He's still, like, all of this stuff has been going on in the background. Myra seems to have not have been aware that Jerry Lee Lewis was in love with her at a point, and then she's not aware that she's, you know, he's going to marry her. It's really being painted out here. This is potentially a GROOMING situation. But there's just, I have so many questions, man, because this is just...
Daddy drives up, barrels through the front door and says, "Where is that son of a bitch?" And Sam sits Daddy down and tells him, "We can't interfere in this life decision that's been made without you."
And he said, "It looks to me like they love each other. And if we charge him, he's going to prison for a long time."
Right, see how he said this, he's going to go to prison for a long time. So it basically... alludes, I think what Jerry Lee Lewis did was illegal here, and bear that in mind, because let me just let it play because this is mad.
Daddy calms down and he goes back home and he tells Mom, "We really don't have any choices because it's done, and we're going to have to hope for the best and learn to live with it."
What?
Myra, her brother Rusty, and their...
Like, 1 minute he's trying to almost unalive Jerry, and the next minute he's like, "Well, we kind of have to go along with this, whatnot, because, you know, and hope for the best." I'm just like, that's just not making sense. Like, how are you going from you want to just unalive the brother, and now you're now saying that, okay, let me just let's go along with it because this is now I guess it's not in their best interest. I'm guessing they're still going on tour with each other at this point. Like, that's his band partner. Like,
Mom Lois accompanied the band to England.
When we got there, you know, they were standing there at the airport and, you know, people just wanted to see everybody, you know, because we were the biggest celebrities there was at that time.
The press was going to come on the plane and see Jerry and interview him. So I got off, and I'm walking around in the airport, and a man comes up to me, and he says, "Who are you, miss? You got off that plane, didn't you?" And I said, "I'm not anybody." He said, "Well, who are you?" And I said, "I'm Jerry's wife." And the guy asked me how old I was, and I said, "I'm 15. I figured I could lie a little bit. His face lit up like a Christmas tree, and he took off. I had no idea. I was talking to a reporter. And I'm clueless that there could be a problem. I wish that somebody would have said, if people find out Jerry's married to a kid."
Wait, let me just... So it says, Mr. Lewis, 22, talks of his 3 marriages. Shucks, I hope you don't think it odd that my wife is so young. Like,
somebody would have said, if people find out Jerry's married to a kid, it ain't gonna be pretty. Myra, you're a bomb.
It's May 1958, and the news of 13-year-old Myra Lewis's marriage to Jerry Lee is about to erupt in the British press. Initially, Jerry's British fans give him a warm reception.
They were at the airport. They were out in the streets. They were in the lobby. People loved Jerry so much, they were hanging out of the hotel windows all around our hotel.
But the tone abruptly changes the following day.
The reporter followed up, figured out Myra was 13, figured out she was his cousin, and that Jerry Lee Lewis wasn't actually even divorced from his second wife. Yeah. This was a bombshell.
Like, how is how? So I don't know if it's like in different states in America you can get away with it. Like, if you're married in one state and you go to another state, like they don't have records of like you being. Maybe at the time it was different, but he wasn't even divorced and he's marrying Myra. Like, this is messy.
The next morning, the news media said, Jerry Lee Lewis is here with his child bride, Myra.
He's a pedophile, he's a bigamist, he's a liar and a fraud. There's a call to boycott the shows, and very quickly, Jerry Lee finds himself playing to half-empty theaters where people are heckling and booing him.
They end up coming back to America, where they hoped it would blow over, but nothing blew over.
Why did you leave? Well, I don't answer those questions, sir. My manager might knock my head off or something.
He went from making thousands of dollars a night down to making a few $100s a night. I felt guilty because of it. I didn't make it happen, but I didn't stop it from happening. And I could have, because I was the one that let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, but
No matter.
see, that's something I also like. I'm like, if you knew how much this was like a taboo, or I guess she didn't at the time. She didn't at the time. I don't even know how it's even gotten here. Because, and then again, I'm thinking, if Jerry Lee Lewis knew that this was something that's so bad, then how is he going about this with chess? And obviously, with the dad kind of allowing things to go this far and or they're kind of taking a back foot, and then now they're allowing this relationship to brew. I can press stuff, but this whole situation is crazy, man.
What she did to try to please him, it was never enough. Nothing was ever good enough.
It ripped my self-esteem away from me. One night, Jerry was coming home, but I didn't know he was coming home that night. He said, I'm hungry, you got to fix me something to eat. Okay. When a neighbor had made some spaghetti sauce for me, and I walked by him and he said, this don't taste like your spaghetti. And I said, Bonnie made it and gave it to me. And he said, what? And he picked his tray up and threw it at me.
Jerry's bad behavior continues, even when he starts making a comeback in a new genre in the 1960s.
We're gonna play this old piano after I'm not here.
He never returns as a rock and roll star, but eventually moves into a much more straight-ahead country style.
When country music kind of became outlaw country and was more sort of open to rebellious figures, they welcomed Jerry Lee Lewis.
I started playing with him a lot and then went full time with him later on, after I got out of high school.
When Another Place, Another Time shoots up the country charts in 1968, Jerry's career is on the ascent.
Jerry went from a little bit of success to more success to really being one of the most successful recording artists in the country music community by sort of the end of the 60s.
Yeah, that's...
Jerry's
It's like he's almost rebranded his whole image, and now he's right back into the limelight.
Community by sort of the end of the 60s.
Jerry's second chance at fame is not enough to right his failing marriage.
When the good times came back for Jerry's career, things went to hell quickly.
In 1970, Myra Lewis gets a phone call that shatters her belief in Jerry Lee.
The anonymous phone call was that Jerry had been seeing other women and just picking up women on the road, and it was something that had been ongoing for many years.
Oh, God.
In fact, he had started cheating on her only 11 months after they first got married.
Myra is devastated. She runs down to her local church to seek solace.
I knelt down at the altar and I was crying so hard that I was not even able to say a word. But that was the moment of knowing without a doubt that this was not the man I was going to spend my life with. This was not what I bargained for. Jerry was continuously calling me, want me to come back to him and all this kind of stuff. And I went over to the house to get something, and I went in and I was in the den and I heard somebody going, "Get her out the window." Jerry was in our bedroom with a girl in his bed. And I walked in there and said, "Oh, no, yeah, you miss me and you love me and you want me back, right? And this is what you're doing, laying in my bed with another woman." So, I mean, I'd been gone 2 or 3 days.
Right, so obviously when she's found out that Jerry's potentially cheating on her, like, she was gone for like 2 or 3 days, and then now she comes back to find out that he's been sleeping with another woman. Like, she catches him red-handed, apparently. So
Begged her to come back, but she wasn't falling for it.
Really, sincerely, I would like to say one more time, what a great honor it is to be back in London, England. I feel like it's at home to me, you know. Oh, this is where I first come over and I brought my little 13-year-old cousin with me. Remember that?
that's a matter. But then I feel like this kind of stuff like this just kind of shows you just how much public perception and media control can really change the way people view things. To see things like so distortedly, and even just see things even more exaggerated, like from what they are, because, you know, he's making jokes like that and nobody's batting an eye here from what it seems like in real time.
He was widely celebrated. He was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the first class. Jerry Lee also was very distinct within that first generation of rock and roll. First of all, he stayed alive longer than the rest of them, but
He's a key figure.
Jerry Lee Lewis was also in a class of his own when it came to bad behavior.
Police.
But then what's behind that is this remarkable woman who took something from that, who took something beyond just being scarred by it, and, you know, was able to turn her life into something else.
I mean, there's been so many blessings and so many good things and so much good spread through our life that you got to focus on that. I'm happy with myself right now. I'm happy with what I got. I've learned some tremendous lessons about life. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably do it all over again.
Okay. See, and then it ends. Okay, and like that whole ending in itself, like she comes away from it kind of just only wanting to focus on the good and then saying that she'll go back again. Like, this whole situation is messy. Look, I didn't even know how I found myself in this rabbit hole in the first place. Like, every time I did a Jerry Lee Lewis reaction, like, I would always see these comments like, yeah, but like he married his like 13-year-old cousin and stuff like that. And I'm like, hearing it actually come from Myra herself, this just seems like there's still a little bit of, because it's hard to say, right? Because, you know, she was young when she first came into contact with him, and, you know, one can argue that, look, she was not aware to the severity of how deep the kind of situation she's in. She said from her mouth that she was not aware that Jerry Lee Lewis was in love with her at first, and she was not aware that he wanted to marry her. She didn't even know what a marriage license was when she first saw it, right? She thought, are we married? So doesn't sound good, man. That sounds like GROOMING, man. That doesn't sound good. And for her to come out of it kind of like saying she'll do it again, that's kind of puzzling to me here, man. Because I thought you would think after all these years, I don't know, she'd be looking back at this, kind of seeing it for more so for what it seems to be. But then on the other side, I also find like, I feel like there's parts of this story that haven't really been fully explained. I mean, we're literally seeing almost like this whole narrative from Myra's perspective, and Myra's, you know, brother, and then the dad's story and stuff. And I didn't see a single person that kind of had any sort of direct relationship to Jerry Lee Lewis kind of talking about this. So I don't know if we're only just getting kind of like 60 to 50% of the story here. And this is so mad to hear. And I'm so curious to see what you guys have to say about it. And again, I find it so kind of interesting how this documentary / short story is coming out after the man died. Like, he died in 2022. The man. Look, I have so many questions. Look, you guys, if you made this point, comment on a white heart, so I know my real ones are. Look, what do you guys think about this situation? That's kind of been my thoughts, and I didn't expect myself to find myself in this rabbit hole, but it's just something to be interested. It's something that I saw, and I was like, let me check it out, and I've got questions, man.